everyone. Welcome back to another Faraday Academy Python live stream. I'm here with a new guest today. This is JT Maupin.
J
Sorry, did I pronounce that wrong?
JT, but you're fine.
Oh, I got my words mixed up. Yeah. He's a recent graduate from Kenzie Academy. I think you just graduated last week, right?
Yeah, Friday.
Oh, awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you're still working as a coach there?
Yes.
Okay. I heard you were one of the more advanced students, so you got to help other students.
Yep, I appreciate the validation from you and Kenzie.
Awesome. So we're going to get into doing some Python coding challenges, and JT picked out a challenge for us to do on Codewars. If you want to check out the challenge yourself, you can go to codewars.com. And yeah, let's get started.
Cool.
Hi, Thabo. Oh, feel free to comment in the chat. We try to interact with the chat if you have any suggestions for what we should be doing, what we should be typing in. There's unfortunately a few seconds delay in the chat, but we'll do our best. All right. Sweet. So we're up top. JT is a little bit dark today, but you can still
Yeah,
see that.
sorry about my webcam.
It's okay. He's alive. You can see him moving around, so that's good.
All right, I pulled up the chat on my phone, so hopefully I'll be able to see that.
Okay, cool. So JT and I will monitor the chat. And this is the challenge that was chosen. It's called More Zeros Than Ones. It's a level 6. Level 6 kata. If you know about Codewars, then they have levels 1 through 8, 8 being the easiest. 7 pretty easy, and then they get more difficult as the numbers get lower. So this is a number 6. We're looking for something that will take about an hour, so we're thinking this might. And let me read the instructions and then we'll get into it. So create a more zeros function that will receive a string input and return an array or null terminated. Okay, we're using Python, so contains only the characters from that string whose binary representations of its ASCII value consist of more zeros than ones. Okay. You should remove any duplicate characters, keeping the first occurrences of any such duplicates so they're in the same order in the final array as they first appear in the string. Okay, so examples A, B, C. So it gives us these 5 characters in the example A, B, C, D, E. And then we have to convert them to the binary representation. We see if they have more zeros than ones. So this one has 4 zeros and 3 ones, so that's true. This one has 4 ones and 3 zeros, so that's false. And then we convert them back, but we only include the ones that the binary ones that have more zeros than ones in the final list. Does that sound right, JT?
Yeah, the only thing is we don't necessarily need to convert them back because this is implementation details, I guess. But yeah, that sounds roughly accurate.
Okay, cool. So I was mostly accurate. I guess I did this one a long time in the past. That's why it says train again. Oh, I need to move my face so you can see. Okay. So it says train again. I really don't remember ever doing this, so it must have been when I first signed up. I just picked some random challenges. All right.
I will say sometimes it does that. I've noticed there's a bunch that say train again. Like there's one I was looking at that said train again, but then I looked at tried to look at the solution and it said you must complete this to unlock the solutions. So I was like, well, make up your mind then. I don't. Yeah.
So maybe it's a bug, or maybe it's a forked challenge that. I don't know. I'm speculating right now.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into the challenge. All right.
Okay.
So, JT, I'll let you lead. What do you think we should do first?
So the JavaScript programmer in me just kind of wants to split it and then run it through a dot filter, right?
Yeah.
Which I guess would work perfectly fine on here. Filter works slightly different, I think, in Python, in that it's a function you pass the thing to instead of calling dot filter.
Yeah, instead of the opposite. way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do think we probably want a filter because inside the filter function, what we could do is convert it to an integer with OR, and then we could do some bit math, like bitwise operations to count the ones and zeros pretty easily. And then that way we don't actually have to convert it and then check and then convert it back. If we just do a dot filter and convert it in the filter function, we could check and not actually change the values, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think I got it, but now I forgot the beginning now that you said so many things.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm prone
So
to verbosity, we'll say. So,
I remember
um,
a filter, and
yeah,
then the bitwise
basically,
operators sounded good.
so we just want to split the string so that it's split into each individual character, and then we want to check basically the bits of the character, right? Like that's the first step.
Yeah.
It's um, so what I
So
would do is just, or at least at first, because we can always refactors. I would set a variable equal to like s dot split. I think that's how you do it in Python. My capstone, I worked on JavaScript, so I'm like still trying to switch gears here.
okay. So you had what, 6 months of JavaScript, 6 months of Python, and then you went back to JavaScript
Yeah, we
at the
had so we
end.
had we had four people, and two of them did the back end, and then they were like, "Yeah, go ahead and do the front end." And I was like, "All right, that's fine. I can do that." So then instead of working on like Django and Python, I ended up working on the React portion of it.
Oh, okay. Cool. Um, Hi Derek. Hi. I don't know how to pronounce that. Seton. That's how we might pronounce it in English. Feel free to interject, to comment, to give us ideas, clues. All right, so we need. So Python. Does Python? Yeah, Python has a string split method.
So actually, this is something I forgot. The split doesn't really. Again, this is something that's different from JavaScript to Python. But if there's not really an easy way to use the split to make it split a string by character. So what you actually need to end up doing is a list comprehension.
Right, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Um,
We could do
so, it,
this, and this makes a list from the string, right?
but it won't. So if I remember right, s dot split would only split on white space and not actually per character. I could
Um,
be wrong about that. Here, let me.
okay. Well, we can print this out and just see. Oops. I guess you're looking it up too.
Oh, I just pulled up a Python replit in my terminal and tried it out. If you just
Okay.
do like n string test dot split, it'll just give you an array that's one element long called um, with test as the only entry in it. So instead of splitting it by characters, um, let's see.
Okay. This one, just list s, seems to just do it by character though.
Oh, does it? Okay, neat,
Yeah.
sweet. Um,
Hi Abriso, how are you? You're in all my JavaScript streams. It's good to see you interested in Python. Or I don't know, maybe you're a Python developer.
cool. Yeah. So after we
Yeah.
split, um, it might be helpful, and I might be over engineering things here, but whenever I do like one of the filters type methods, we'll call them the functional methods. I usually actually create another function outside of it so that you don't have to mess with lambda, and I think it's like a little bit easier to see what's going on if you create the filter function outside of the actual filter itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Um, so I would say
So we could
something like,
create a
sorry, go ahead.
function up here.
Yeah. hmm
Okay. And then what should we call this function?
Um, hmm. I
Um,
don't- Maybe just like filter out ones or something like that.
um, okay. Filter out ones. So in this new function, are we getting rid of the ones?
We're not necessarily getting rid of ones, which is why it's not a great name, but it is. We're getting rid of anything that has more ones than zeros, right?
Yeah.
So Hmm.
So maybe we'll call it filter binaries or something.
Yeah, yeah, that would work.
Okay.
Um,
And
I'm trying to alt tab from my one tab to another. It doesn't work like that, JT.
are
All
you on,
right.
are you on Windows or Mac?
I'm actually on Ubuntu right now.
Oh, okay. Say Windows or Mac as if everyone only uses those two.
Yeah, well, so when I went to Kenzie, they sent an email that basically said you need a Mac, and I was like, well, I can't afford a Mac, and so they're like, Ubuntu works just fine. I was like, all right, cool, like I'll install that, and then I installed the latest version on my computer. It turns out Ubuntu does not like NVIDIA graphics cards, and so it took me like 3 weeks to get anything working before I just went back to 16.04 or whatever it is. Um, okay, so getting off. I am really good at tangenting on things, so sorry about that.
It's okay.
Um, so filter out binaries is what we decided, right?
Yeah.
I'm like coding along on my end to try to keep up, um, like with my thought process here.
Okay.
So, all right. So basically, what we want to do is we're going to want to convert whatever value is passed in here into its decimal value, right? I think you can do that with ord in Python.
Yeah. So here I'll put value, so you can do ord value, and then
Yeah.
let's print this. Wait, we have to call it. So here, I guess, well, I can print uh, filter binaries and then just pass it
Yeah.
first character, I guess. Yeah. So get
Oh, um, you don't need print in the more zeros function because filter binaries isn't returning anything yet. You're just printing from the filters binary function.
oh, right. So I can take one of these prints out. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we'll see what.
Or no, I should leave this because now I'm returning none from the filter binary. So that's what you were saying. I think I got confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is where that delay comes into effect because to see your code, I'm watching this stream right now, which
Yeah, it's a couple seconds. Hi, nobodies. How are you? Um, Nobodies is another regular in my JavaScript streams. Are you into Python? Alright. In short, I am good. Yeah. Alright, so we have the ASCII value for whatever character we pass in filter binaries. And now we need the... Hi, Bello.
so
I'm good. How are you,
we don't.
JT?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay. Standard
Yeah.
English answer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Um, so the cool thing about how like numbers work is we actually already have the binary as long as we have the integer, right?
yeah.
Um, so now we just have to figure out how to count the zeros and the ones in binary, and then compare the two. Although, um, since we want more zeros than one, we actually probably only need to keep track of one number,
Yeah.
right? So whenever it's a one, like we can keep track of a counter, and whenever the bit is active in whatever position we're looking at. So like if we're looking at the rightmost portion of the bit string, I guess you could call it. If it's a one, we subtract one from that number. If it's zero, we add one to that number. And so at the end, if it's greater than zero, then we keep if that whatever counter that is greater than zero, then we keep that letter. Otherwise, we get rid of it, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so we'd have the bitwise operator in this filter function, and then in here would have the loop, basically.
In the yeah. So let's see.
Yeah, just think of Python as backend JavaScript. Just
Yeah,
indented JavaScript.
without types. Well, it technically has types, but
Optional types that aren't enforced.
yeah.
Okay, so which part should we do first? Should we do the bitwise in the filter binaries?
Yeah. Well, okay. So we want to set a counter, right? We'll
Oh,
say
right.
I would just call it something like zeros counter, maybe,
Uh,
or zero counter. Um,
Zero counter. Okay.
and then, so I'm trying to think of the best way to do um, the bitwise operations because all we need is one and, right? So we check one and the ord of the value, and we'll know if the first bit is 1 or 0, and then we have to shift it to the left once every time for each bit in that number.
Yes, type enforcement is optional, but types can be good.
Oh,
Um,
yes. All right. Okay, so how do we want to do that? Because part of the issue is, oh, actually, you know what we could do? Um, this is Python 3, right? So we'd have to do a double divisor so it doesn't convert it to a float. But if we take the value and we check the ones position of the bit, we'll call it. I think that's the easiest way to look at it. And it we'll get if it's 1 or not, and we'll increment or decrement the counter accordingly. But then we can just divide the number by 10, like do an integer divide. Or no, it wouldn't be by 10. We could. Sorry, I'm thinking about this both in terms of decimal and binary. We could shift it to the right once each time, right? Until the number is 0. Does that make
okay.
sense? So this would be a while loop, basically. Um,
Just a while loop until we break out of it.
yeah, because what's going to happen um, is we check the first position with a bitwise and we'll increment or decrement the counter, and then we just shift it to the right once. And now the what would be the twos index in binary will become the ones index, right? Because we shift everything to the right
Yeah.
once.
Okay. That sounds
Um,
good when you say it, so.
all right. So also we should probably be doing the while loop inside the actual filter out binaries, because that's what we're looking for. We're looking to see, like, we're checking the zeros count for an individual character inside that filter function.
Okay, so the looping is done in here.
Yes.
Then,
We're gonna loop through S as well.
okay,
So
so,
we have to have two loops here. In the filter out binaries, we're only looping because we have to check every bit inside the ord of the value.
okay.
hmm
All right. Yeah, we can always refactor later. So I'll put the while true over here. And so the count, I guess the count needs to be in here too, in the filter
Right.
binaries. Yeah. And then in here we basically we'll have a loop in here too.
But that'll be a for loop. Actually, because we're supposed to return excuse me, sorry, we're supposed to return an array anyways, right? So we could do like split the string by list s like we were doing, but we could
Mhm.
also just return a list comprehension where instead of using the filter method, we just do like C for C in string if filter out binaries C, right? We don't actually need to use the filter method itself Does that make sense? So,
Oh,
uh,
okay. Yeah, filter using a list comprehension, basically.
right.
Yeah. Um, so would we call... So we'd be calling filter binaries inside the list comprehension then.
Yeah, here, I will copy and paste what I was thinking to the chat if I can figure out how. Um,
Okay.
there we go. In the Skype. Can't think of words right now, apparently.
Oh, Skype? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to pull it up on screen.
Oh,
Um,
I'm sorry.
wait, let me switch to webcam real quick,
Okay.
and then I can pull it up sneakily off camera. Okay, I copied it.
All right.
And now we're
'Cause-
back. Okay, let me paste it somewhere here. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's all we need for that function actually, and then all the rest of the work's going to be done in the filter binaries function.
okay, so def more zeros, C for C and C, so if filter. Okay, so yeah, this function will only return if, well, it'll return true, I guess, if
Well,
it's in there
so
and false otherwise.
it won't return true or false necessarily. What happens with that list comprehension is it says C for C and S, which means you can think of it as character for every character in S, but only if the filter out binaries function returns true, right? So it'll just drop all the characters that don't meet the criteria that we have in filter out binary. So it's essentially the same as just the straight Python filter
Yeah.
function. But I like list comprehensions a little more, and if I remember right, they're a little more computationally efficient in Python.
They're cleaner as long as you're not stacking too much stuff in them.
Oh yeah, I put like 7 list comprehensions in one at some point just because, and then I was like, all right, now someone try to figure out what this does.
Yeah. I see answers like that on Codewars. I'm like, why is this upvoted? I can't even read it.
Yeah, I'm okay with it being clever because clever and best practices are literally never the same.
Yeah.
So, okay, so basically what I've got is zero counter equals 0, and then while val greater than 0, right? That's because we don't necessarily we don't want this to run forever. We only want this to run until we've shifted the value to the right enough times that there is no bits left, right?
Yeah. 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, we're only returning the values, the characters, if the binary representation has more zeros than ones in it. So we have to switch. We have to count the zeros and ones in binary and then return the values that have more zeros and ones in it back to the ASCII character. Yeah. That's pretty much it. There aren't too many instructions here. All right. Sorry. What were you saying, JT?
Yeah, no worries. So right now, the only thing I have is while val is greater than 0, and then the 0 counter equals 0 at the top. Because we don't while true is fine, but then we have to manually break out of the loop at some point.
Yeah.
In this case, we only care about the number if it has any active bits left. You know what I mean? Like if it's not just 0.
Well, won't we be just returning from the loop? Like whenever we hit the end, we'll just return true or false? Then we never have to break out, break anyway, right?
Yeah, but every time we do the loop, what we would need to do then is check if val is 0 and then return from there. Whereas this way, it'll just stop the loop and we can return at the end of the loop instead of checking each iteration of the loop, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Either way is fine, but
All right.
The other thing that I just realized is we're passing in an ASCII character into val, not a number.
Yeah.
So there's one of two things we can do. We can set val equal to ord, or we can set a variable equal to ord val and then change the variable using the while loop. Or in that filter out binaries function inside the list comprehension, we can just ord c right there.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably easier.
Right.
Okay, and then we'll just pass in the ASCII value. That's good.
All right. And so then what we want to do, um, well, we could do like a ternary statement, but I never know if those are worthwhile or not versus just an if else statement because sometimes they can get like crazy and unreadable. But basically, what we're checking for is let's see how to do this in Python. I got to figure out how to do bitwise and to make sure it's the same thing as.
Is it just the single and operator?
Yep, that's what it is.
Okay.
So we want to do something like filter binaries and filter out binaries don't match by name. Oh, okay. I called mine filter out binaries, and you
Oh,
called
I
yours
see.
filter binaries. Yes, that's what's going on.
Hey, how are you?
All right, so
3. Okay. Oh, right. There. So, let me think. Sometimes I think it would be easier to pseudocode everything. I guess that's what I did last time with Daniel, and I think that helped. But
oh, okay, yeah, that's fair. I guess like when I do these things, I almost have like the pseudocode in my head as I'm writing it out, so I just don't write it out. Or I'm thinking about it. But basically, let's see. What's the best way to do this in pseudocode?
so, oh, the errors
Basically,
aren't clear.
what's
Oh,
going on?
oh, he's talking about the sample test, but we haven't got there yet.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Derek's trying to show us up, man.
Yeah.
Derek's a cool guy. He was one of my classmates.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So he graduated too.
Yep, he graduated Friday with me.
Awesome. Must have been weird to have a virtual graduation.
It was, and there was like some cringy moments when they had like this pre-recorded Zoom call of a bunch of the staff singing "Don't Stop," like "Don't Stop Believing," or at least lip singing with it, and it was like at the end, and my grandma was watching everything. I was like, oh, okay, like this is a little cringy, but it works.
Yeah.
Um,
Improvising.
yeah, no, it's a good school for sure. They're super helpful. I really liked it. So,
Awesome. Yeah, I've heard good things from people coming out.
yep. Well, like Joe said on the podcast you did with him, it's not a boot camp. Like
Yeah.
I've people called it a boot camp, and I always have to do the same thing Joe did. It's like, well, actually, it's a school. Like it's not the same thing. But
Because all the news uses the word boot camp because that's like a hot word. So
yep.
everyone who hasn't gone to one, I guess, just uses the word. But it's actually a coding school because it's a year long. And I guess boot camps are like 3 months, which you might have already said. I can't remember.
No, I didn't say that specifically. I think
Okay.
Joe did, but on your podcast. But like, yeah, I've had a couple recruiters who were like, being a student at Kenzie isn't going to help you because it's looked at as a boot camp, and I was just like, what?
Yeah,
So,
it's all about your portfolio and networking anyway.
yep, that's true. So,
All right, so we have our while loop, and we need to.
uh,
We're not
it's
popping off. We're counting from left to right or right to left.
right to left, yeah.
Right to
Um,
left. Okay.
but so basically the first thing we need to check is we need to do bitwise and with val, and we need to see if it's 1 or 0, right? Because we're trying to count how
Okay.
many zeros versus ones there are.
Okay.
Um, so if the val and 1 returns 1, then we know that's a 1, and so we subtract 1 from 0 counter.
Val and... Oh, yeah. You're telling me the bitwise. Okay. And 1...
Yep.
So if val and 1... What did you say?
Then we want to decrement 0 counter, so we want to subtract 1 from 0 counter.
If it equals 0, right?
No, only if it equals 1. Because we're trying to see...
Right. We already have the bitwise there, so we don't need equals. Okay. Then
and then they're 0 counter minus 1, basically, or minus equal 1 in this case.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Minus equals. This laptop keyboard isn't friendly.
Oh, fair enough. Yep. I have an external keyboard because I hate my laptop keyboard.
Yeah, I had a DOS keyboard, and the keys are sticky and also double typing, so...
Yep.
Waiting to get a new one.
So after that, the only other outcome of val and 1 is going to be 0, right? Because it's binary.
Yeah.
So what we can do is just... we don't have to do another bitwise operation. We could just say else 0 counter plus equals 1, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. 0 counter plus equals
What keyboard
1.
do you use, nobody?
Perhaps bitwise operations are a bit much. Yeah, but it's fun though.
This was my first thought. Leave me alone, Derek. And then at the end of the while loop, all we have to do is do a bit shift right once, right? So it'd be like val, what is it called? Right caret equals 1 or something like that.
Oh, like that?
Yeah.
I can't. That's no lie. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's that. I think you have to do equals as well at the end of that one, so you're setting the value of val.
Oh, okay.
I think we'll have to run it and see what happens.
Just see. We've typed a lot of code without running it.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
That I think that might do it, or it'll blow everything up, and then we'll get to do more code. So
that's a good outcome too.
Oh, we haven't returned it actually. We haven't returned true or false yet. So that's something that we need to do. But basically, all we need to do is return 0 at the very end after we break out of the while loop. We just gotta return 0 counter is greater than 0, right? Because if it's not greater than if it's 0, then we have an equal amount of zeros and ones. If it's less than that, we have more ones than 0. And if it's greater than 0, then we have more zeros than 1.
Okay. So where's our break statement in the loop?
So just right shifting by 1 every single time should naturally... Oh, you still have while true. Sorry. So what I did was while val is greater than 0 instead of while true.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that creates the natural breakpoint for the loop.
Okay.
And it didn't work for me, so that's cool.
Okay. Let's see. Well, we passed 3 tests. I'm sure they're like base
we failed
cases
24.
or something.
Awesome. That's a good ratio there. What is it?
Yeah.
1 out of 8?
Oh, we failed 2. It says we failed 2. We passed 3.
Oh, did I actually hit attempt instead of test? Yeah, that's exactly what I did. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes I do. It tries to get you to hit attempt like the hotkeys, and also if you're using Vim bindings, :W attempts it, doesn't test it, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah, I hit Control S just out of habit from like whenever I'm actually programming in VS Code or something, that does the attempt apparently. So,
Yeah, I don't know why.
all
I'm not.
right. So, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I was just reading one, a Derek comment. Yeah. Um, I don't know who would have a good course on that. I guess you guys probably know Corey Schaefer and his hundreds of Python videos, which are excellent. He goes into some deeper topics.
Oh, are you talking about you don't know someone like course on Bitwise operations and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't found anything either. A lot of the stuff that I know about it is just self-study. Like I was trying to make a chessboard that made sure you could only make legal chess moves, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a way to do that using Bitwise operations because you can think of each piece on the board as part of a 64-bit number where each piece's location is just flipped on in the bits inside that number,
Oh,
and then you
okay.
can do a lot of really cool stuff with that.
Is that on your GitHub?
Yes, it is. Somewhere I have. There's two. There should be two of them actually, because one I actually created like because JavaScript only allows 32-bit numbers when you're doing bitwise operators. So I created a
Mm.
library that allowed you to go up to 64 using two like an array with two bitwise numbers, and then it has to like do special things between those two numbers when you're shifting right and stuff like that. And then I found out there was a library that already did it for me, and so the second version I just used the library.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we'll share your GitHub after. I think your LinkedIn is in the description so far, and I'll post
Okay.
your GitHub after.
Yeah, I'll get you my GitHub after this.
All right.
Okay, so then there's got to be a pretty easy way to count the number of zeros and ones, and because I don't know exactly what's going on here
Yeah, because
off
we
the top of
wrote
my
so
head.
much code without testing anything
Yeah,
out.
well, it should like just in theory, if we go over it, I feel like it should work because we're taking the ord of the value, which converts it to the integer, and then all we're doing is taking the integer and we're checking if the first bit is one or zero, and then we're if it's one we decrement the counter, and if it's zero then we increment the counter, and then we just shift the number right once, right? And so I feel what that should do is just get rid of that first bit and then put the second bit in the first bit's position, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, okay. So let's see.
So what's going on is that it wants the letter only once. Oh,
Yep.
right.
So we all we have to do then we we could do this a little like hacker way, but we can just return instead of the list comprehension, we can return list set and then the list comprehension because it'll turn it into a set. Do they have to be ordered?
Um, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So yeah,
Oh,
let's just
now
do.
we failed everything. Oh,
Oh,
because they
really?
do have to be ordered. Yeah. Um,
All right.
so should we get rid of duplicates first, or
Mm, I. Oh yeah. I guess we could just extend the list comprehension probably and the if statement to say to like look for um hmm no, that wouldn't work. Never mind. I'm
Derek?
this would what do you say?
Oh, Derek is saying that could just add an and condition in the list comprehension.
So I was thinking that, Derek, but if we had an and condition an and to the if condition, what would end up happening is we'd have to find the index of whatever character and then compare it against the index of the first occurrence of the character and compare it to the current index. So um, I'm not sure like how you want to do that the best way in a list comprehension, if that makes sense. Like that would almost need a for loop, and then you're pushing things. And um, honestly, the easiest way to do this, I think, So it has to be sorted in the where they both happen, right? Like in the order that it happens within the string, I think. Um, some of these are not easy to tell because like digest doesn't have multiple letters, but the ones that do are like long strings. So H, yeah, because we can't just sort it alphabetically. So dot sort's not going to work because B comes before H in the alphabet usually.
Yeah. Um, we
I mean,
could
do you just want to rewrite the more zeros so it's a for loop instead of a list comprehension?
the more zeros. Well, um, we could also save. I think what, like he was saying, we could save a separate array and just pop every character onto it. I guess we would need a for loop though.
Right. That's what I was saying. Is basically like we create like a temp array that we're well not a temp array like a solution array or something like that, and
Yeah.
then we use a for loop. We go through each one of the we'll have to also do list s again so that we can break up the characters. Or no, we don't. We can I think we can just do for or whatever in enumerate of a string and that should work as well.
And then we just
Right?
check if the character's already in there.
Yeah, and if so, we just ignore it, and if not, then we check the filter, and if the filter works, then we push it to the array.
Okay. I'm gonna change this into a for loop then.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, so. But then where do we want to do the filtering?
We're gonna do the filtering inside the for loop. It'll just be an if statement, right? So for every
Okay.
character, we check if if that character is already in the array, or
Yeah.
if it or if the filter function doesn't pass, then we ignore it. Otherwise, we add it to the array. Which we should probably flip that condition so that we check. We actually add to the array inside the if statement, right? So
If C. Um. Oh yeah.
we
So
want.
if C in temp, then we continue.
Well, we could do. Yeah, we also want another condition on that, right? If C and temp continue, um, or actually, why don't we do if C not in temp, and filter binaries or C, then we push it. Otherwise, we don't. We don't need like to add an extra if statement if that's not if either one of those comes back false.
And okay. Um. And then we push it to.
Yep, just do temp dot push or dot append. Actually, I think it is in
Oh
Python.
right. Okay. Temp dot append C. Okay. And then we'll return temp at the end.
Yep.
Okay. Do you think that's gonna work?
Sure.
All right. Let's try it. Sweet. We passed the 5 tests.
Yes.
Now let me attempt. Outstanding. Oh, it actually tells us outstanding. Cool.
Awesome. Cool. Good work.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So how could we refactor this? Because basically what Codewars does, if you don't know, it lets you, solve the challenge first with the test cases and then with a whole bunch of cases when you hit attempt. And then before you submit your final challenge, you have the chance to refactor it. So now we're in the refactoring phase. Is there anything we would do differently, or do you like the Bitwise solution we have? JT?
Yeah. Sorry. I'm looking at the code.
Okay.
I do like it. I I can't think of a good way to refactor without taking out without doing a completely different filter method.
Yeah.
right? The only thing that we could do is instead of setting the increment like using an if else statement, we could do like a ternary statement on the zero counter. But I think that leads to less readable code than what we have now, so I don't think that really helps anything.
Yeah. Okay, I think this is good. Let's submit it. Let's look at Derek's solution. Let me submit.
All right.
Did you submit your solution, Derek? Okay, so I submitted, and now you get to, basically when you submit your code, then you can look at other people's solutions. So you can see you can filter by all solutions, users you're following, your own solutions. So I would see, okay, so this is the solution that we just did. Cool. You're friends with Derek, right, JT?
Yeah, I'm just rewriting the more zeros code because I didn't do any of that. I was just kind of
Oh,
helping you walk through it, and give me a second and I'll submit it.
okay. So, oh, this is my old solution that I forgot about. What was I doing?
Uh,
Creating a list.
Trying to do some code golf stuff here.
Uh, okay, some
Okay, here.
slicing for char and chars, join. Oh, I know why I'm slicing here, because I'm getting rid of that 0x at the beginning of the binary.
Derek, we got to work on your variable names, man. Where do you want me to send the link to?
Well, what's his username? I think I
Oh, that
can
works.
find it by user, right?
You should be able to.
Slash
It's DS Barnes, Barnes.
DS Barnes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 404. Oh, it must be users. It has to
It's yeah slash
be.
user slash
Users.
DS Barnes.
Okay, I found him.
Yeah, you're right. I did use C, but
All right. Yeah, I was thinking about refactoring that too, but oh well. I'm going to follow him. All right. So I think if we go to Kata's, we can see his solutions.
yep,
More
it should be.
zeros than ones. Sweet. Solutions. No. Oh, I
No,
clicked on
go
the
to user,
challenge.
go to solution, and then users I'm following. I think solutions of users I'm following is how you have to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Solutions. And then, oh, right. Since I followed him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you have a list. Then for char and s. So far it's the same. Or in char. Okay, so that's more like my first solution. And then you're saving the length of the list. And then if
That's
okay,
clever.
so you're taking the string count by 2, the length and character not in this list, then you append the character. Okay, I like that solution. I'm gonna
Yep.
vote for you.
Oh, yeah,
Cool.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, you should vote for him.
I never do that kind of thing. I always forget it's a thing. Oh, it looks like Daniel did this too.
Yeah, he did. But oh, what did he do? What is this?
Wow, that was clever too, man.
Oh, Daniel might have been the one to challenge me to do this in the first place.
Oh, that's funny.
Because that might be why we might have talked about this. I can't remember. Because he was getting me into Codewars, which is why I invited him on here.
Yeah, Codewars are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I was gonna jokingly suggest this one. It's called Four Pass Transport, but it's a queue level 1, which is not gonna take us an hour.
That'll take us like 4 hours.
Yeah, I think it'll actually be fairly straightforward. I'm gonna try to do it at some point, but I think it's just gonna be like an A-star problem, pathfinding.
Okay. Yeah, I think that went well. It's I think it's too late to start a new challenge now, but maybe we can. Um, what do you want to do with the last 9 minutes? End it
Um,
here or pick a new challenge for next time?
we could pick a new challenge. If anyone wants to ask me questions about the Kenzie Bootcamp or whatever, like whatever, what the
Yeah.
1Q take you a week, Derek?
Yeah, I think that's what he's saying.
Okay.
Is there an odd bit? Um, Next time we could try a 5.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be down for that.
Yeah, so if anyone listening has any recommendations for level 5 or 5 Qs that we should try, then leave a comment after we end this stream, um, or contact us some other way. Yeah, there's a whole bunch. There's thousands and thousands. Because these are, if you don't know, these are user generated challenges. So once you hit a certain level on Codewars, you're able to submit challenges and then other people can use them, basically.
So I think what is it? Nobody's asked like what point can you call yourself mid dev? This is this is like a little bit of a pet peeve for me, but don't ever call yourself a junior dev. Like if you can do the job, then you're like whatever the dev is, like is for that position. That's really all that matters. It doesn't matter like don't label yourself as a junior, senior, or whatever. Just go for positions that you can like fulfill the requirements
Yeah,
for
I
or
definitely
like do.
agree with that. So nobody's, I think you're a senior dev? You might be a mid dev or like a, you've had years of experience, right? I think you have. Anyways, you're really good and helpful on my JavaScript streams.
Do you know if he
Yeah.
has a job?
What?
Do you know if he's like working as a developer?
Oh, nobody's? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He said he's the only person at his company that knows front end dev. Oh,
Well, if you guys are looking to hire another front end dev, I just graduated, so hit me up.
oh yeah, hire JT if you're hiring. He's looking for a job.
Yeah, especially right now, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, C# backend, Vue front end. Vue's a lot of fun too.
Oh, I
Uh,
want to get into Vue.
yeah, you should check out my 3 hour long course on Free Code Camp on Vue.
Yeah, I will. I actually so I went to this interview. There's an indie called Crafted Up. And the whole story is a little bit of a downer, but like they knew I had no experience with Vue or anything, and they basically, as part of the interview, said, "Here, you've got a week. Like, go make me something in Vue." And I was surprised at how easy it was to just sit down and get something up and running in a week. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So Vue looks really cool from what I've been able to see. I'll definitely check out your tutorials and such to get like a good starting position. But I think a lot of people are looking to move to Vue on a like greenfield project. So we'll see.
Yeah, because it's awesome. So, yeah, let's wrap it up here. And thanks so much for coming on, JT. I think this went really well, and I hope you come on again next Sunday.
Yeah,
We might
absolutely.
have VS Code Live working where we can both type, or we might be doing it in Code Wars. We'll see how the technology fares once we test it. I will be live streaming this Friday JavaScript and then one of these Python live streams again on Sunday. If you want to reach out to JT, what's the best way to reach you, JT?
Probably just go to my LinkedIn profile, which I think you have in the description, right?
Yeah.
I don't really have a ton of social media. Like I don't have a Facebook or anything anymore just because I don't like it just made my life worse, I felt. So I got rid of it all. But yeah, so LinkedIn's probably the best way to reach me.
Okay, cool. And I'll also put your GitHub in a comment down below.
Oh yeah, let
Thank
me get that for you.
Yeah, sure. I'll post that right after we finish. Thanks so much for tuning in, for chatting with us today. This has been great. And I hope you join our live stream again next week. Have a great night.
See you, everyone.